Long before skyscrapers touched the clouds and gold-plated cars cruised the highways, Dubai was nothing more than a speck in the desert, a village hidden between endless dunes and the restless waters of the Arabian Gulf. Here, life clung to survival. Men plunged into the sea as pearl divers, holding their breath until their lungs screamed for air, searching for treasures hidden in oysters. Some never resurfaced, their bodies swallowed by the Gulf, their families left to mourn in silence. Women waited by the shore, scanning the horizon for boats that sometimes never returned. But beneath the simplicity of this desert life, unseen rivalries brewed. The ruling tribe, the Bani Yaz, struggled to maintain order as neighboring clans whispered of power. Every water well, every caravan route, every pearl trade became a matter of life and death. And from beyond the sands, foreign empires began to watch. The British Empire, eager to control the Gulf's trade, marked Dubai as a pawn in its imperial chessboard. Merchants from Persia, India, and Africa slipped into its markets, bringing both opportunity and suspicion. What looked like a quiet fishing settlement was, in truth, a fragile piece in a far greater game. For now, Dubai was a forgotten village, its name barely whispered beyond the desert winds. But destiny was already stirring. In the shadows of its humble beginnings, forces of greed, ambition, and survival were preparing to collide, shaping a future no one could yet imagine. Life in the desert was a daily gamble against nature itself. Water was scarcer than gold, and every drop carried the weight of survival. Families rationed it carefully. Sometimes a single clay pot had to last an entire household for days. When wells dried up, tribes clashed violently, and friendships could turn into rivalries overnight. Pearl diving was the beating heart of Dubai's fragile economy, but it was no life of glory. Divers tied stones to their waists to sink faster, pinching their noses with turtle shell clips as they plunged into the dark sea. Many resurfaced with bleeding ears, scarred lungs, and empty hands. Yet they dove again and again, because a single flawless pearl could feed a family for months. Meanwhile, storms and shifting sands were constant enemies. Entire caravans disappeared into the desert, swallowed by dunes that moved like living creatures. A whispered superstition spread among villagers that the desert itself was alive, jealous of human survival, always taking back what little it gave. But beyond the unforgiving land, another battle brewed. The ruling sheikh faced growing pressure. Neighboring tribes sought to control the pearl trade routes. Merchants demanded protection from pirates, and whispers of rebellion traveled faster than the desert wind. Loyalty was fragile, and betrayal was cheap. Amid this struggle, foreign ships began to appear more frequently on the horizon. The British claimed to be protectors of peace, yet their cannon said otherwise. With every treaty signed, Dubai's sovereignty slipped a little further into foreign hands. And still, the villagers endured, clinging to hope, believing that one day their desert home would reward their suffering. What they didn't know was that survival was only the beginning. Something far more dangerous, ambition, was about to rise from the sands. For generations, Dubai's lifeblood had been the pearls hidden beneath the waves. Each dive carried risk, but also the promise of reward. Families had built their lives around these tiny treasures, and the village thrived, or so it seemed. Then the unthinkable happened. Cultured pearls from Japan flooded the market, driving prices down and rendering Dubai's natural pearls nearly worthless. Entire households, once wealthy by local standards, plunged into poverty overnight. Pearl merchants shuttered their shops. Boats rotted at the docks. The laughter of children faded as hunger crept into every home. Panic spread like wildfire. Families fought over scraps, and the once fragile alliances between tribes fractured completely. Long-standing agreements were broken as desperation replaced trust. Old rivals seized the moment to claim wells, trade routes, and even entire neighborhoods. Violence became routine, and the desert seemed to reclaim what humans had fought so hard to tame. Amid the chaos, leaders faced impossible choices. Some considered abandoning Dubai entirely, migrating to neighboring lands where life might be easier. Others refused to leave, clinging stubbornly to their homes despite the collapsing economy. Survival depended not on skill or courage, but on luck. And in the Gulf, luck was a scarce commodity. Yet even in the darkest hour, a spark of opportunity flickered. Beneath the waves, beneath the rubble of ruined livelihoods, whispers of change began. Dubai's fate, though hanging by a thread, was far from over. The collapse of the pearl industry would mark the end of one era and the shocking beginning of another. The sun beat down mercilessly on the Dubai desert, but beneath the sand, a secret slumbered: black gold. When the first gush of oil erupted in 1966, the villagers' fortunes transformed overnight. The air buzzed with excitement, whispers of wealth spreading from fishing huts to the Sheikh's palace. Families dreamed of schools, hospitals, and paved roads. Yet the leaders of Dubai were no ordinary dreamers. They recognized a harsh truth: oil was a fleeting gift. In a few decades, the wells would run dry, and the desert would return with a vengeance. The question loomed: would Dubai squander this miracle or wield it to craft a future that could endure for centuries? Behind closed doors, the Sheikh and his council whispered a daring plan. Instead of hoarding oil money, they would invest in infrastructure, trade, and global commerce. Roads carved through sand, ports that could rival ancient maritime empires, and airports that could welcome the world's elite. This was their audacious gamble. Many advisors warned them it was too risky. But the Sheikh's vision was clear. Dubai would become a city that survived long after oil had vanished. Every decision came with tension. Would investors trust a city built on desert ambition? Could a village of fishermen transform into a global powerhouse? For now, hope glimmered like the oil itself. A mirage that could either fuel dreams or blind the city to disaster. Dubai rose from the desert not gradually, but like a thunderbolt. Skyscrapers sprouted where camels once roamed, glass and steel piercing a horizon that had known only sand and sky. Outsiders scoffed. Engineers questioned the soil's ability to support such audacity. Skeptics whispered that Dubai's ambition would collapse under its own weight. Yet the city's leaders ignored the doubts. They imported architects and planners from across the globe, pulling together a workforce skilled enough to turn dreams into concrete reality. Markets thrived, ports hummed with trade, and slowly Dubai became a magnet for opportunity. The city was transforming before the world's eyes, a symbol of unrelenting ambition and bold risk-taking. But with every rise, the shadows lengthened. Migrant workers toiled under the blazing sun, building towers that seemed to scrape the heavens. Traditionalists grumbled at the changes, warning that Dubai risked losing its soul to glass and steel. And while wealth flowed in, tension simmered beneath the glittering surface. This was not just construction, it was a gamble with humanity, labor, and reputation all on the line. Dubai's success was intoxicating but fragile. Each soaring skyscraper reminded the world and its residents of just how high the stakes had become. If skyscrapers shocked the world, the Palm Islands stunned it. An impossible vision. Artificial islands shaped like palm trees, stretching into the Persian Gulf, visible from space. Critics called it hubris. Engineers warned of collapsing sands, rising tides, and costs that could bankrupt the city. But Dubai's leaders were relentless. Machines dredged sand from the seabed, shaping it meticulously into the fronds of a massive palm. Workers labored day and night, their sweat mingling with salt water, their hands carving a desert dream into reality. Skeptics laughed at the audacity, but the first images began to circulate, and suddenly the world stopped and stared. The Palm Islands were more than an engineering marvel. They were a declaration of intent. Dubai would not just survive, it would dominate imagination itself. Hotels, luxury villas, and marinas began to rise, promising wealth and wonder. The city's transformation was complete. From a forgotten fishing village to a global icon of ambition, daring, and audacity. Yet even as the islands gleamed in the sun, whispers of risk persisted. Could Dubai maintain its meteoric rise without collapse? Or would the desert, patient and eternal, reclaim its sands? Dubai's most audacious dream was about to pierce the clouds. Burj Khalifa, a tower so ambitious it seemed impossible. From the moment construction began, whispers of doubt swept across the globe. Critics scoffed. The soil will collapse. The costs are astronomical. The project is cursed. Inside Dubai, the tension was palpable. Engineers worked around the clock, their hands blistered, their eyes strained, as steel beams soared hundreds of meters above the desert sands. Workers faced sweltering heat, monsoon winds, and near-constant danger. Labor strikes erupted, investors threatened to withdraw, and international media speculated that the project could end in humiliation. But the city's rulers were unyielding. Every setback, mechanical failures, soaring costs, political scrutiny, was met with a steely resolve. Night after night, cranes swung like giant arms building a dream, and concrete poured like molten ambition into foundations designed to defy gravity. Finally, the moment came. Burj Khalifa touched the sky, a monument to human daring. The world gasped in awe, but behind the triumph lay anxiety. The city had wagered everything on this single feat. If it failed, Dubai's reputation, finances, and future would collapse like a sandcastle under the tide. And yet, Burj Khalifa stood not just as a building, but as a symbol of Dubai's unstoppable ambition, a challenge thrown in the face of nature, doubt, and skepticism. With its skyline transformed, Dubai became a magnet for the world's elite. Luxury hotels, malls with indoor ski slopes, and artificial beaches glimmered under the desert sun. Tourists and billionaires marveled at wonders that seemed pulled from science fiction. Dubai had become a city of miracles, of impossible dreams realized. But beneath the glitter, reality was far harsher. Migrant laborers endured grueling conditions, working 12-hour shifts in extreme heat to erect towers and islands. Injuries were common, rest minimal, and the human cost hidden behind the sparkling facade. Environmentalists warned that man-made islands, reclaimed land, and artificial lakes were destabilizing fragile coastal ecosystems. Even as Dubai dazzled the world, the city's leaders faced delicate challenges. They had to maintain the dream without revealing the cracks, financial, social, or ecological. Every triumph carried hidden consequences. Luxury masked hardship, and opulence obscured sacrifice. Dubai had become a paradise, but an illusion. One misstep, one neglected warning, and the glittering dream could crumble back into the desert sands from which it rose. By the early 2000s, the sheen of Dubai's meteoric rise began to show subtle but dangerous cracks. Financial crises rattled the city, threatening ambitious megaprojects. Real estate bubbles risked collapse. Wealth disparities widened. Ancient desert traditions collided violently with the glittering modernity of malls, towers, and international finance. Whispers spread among locals and expatriates alike. Dubai was a mirage built on borrowed money and unchecked ambition. Beneath the skyline of dreams, tension simmered between tradition and progress, between rulers and workers, between the desert's patience and human overreach. And yet, Dubai pressed on. Leaders innovated, borrowed wisely, and pursued ever greater projects, convinced that ambition itself was the city's lifeblood. But every skyscraper, every luxury hotel, every artificial island carried a shadow. The desert had patience, but it also had memory. Nature, economics, and society could conspire to reclaim what humans had tried to conquer. Dubai's brilliance was undeniable, but fragile. Its story was no longer just one of triumph. It was a taut tension between wonder and disaster, ambition and consequence, dazzling achievements and looming shadows. Dubai stands today as a dazzling jewel of the Middle East, a city of skyscrapers, luxury, and audacity. From the tallest building in the world to islands sculpted by human hands, it seems unstoppable. A paradise that rose from nothing but sand, ambition, and vision. Tourists flock from every corner of the globe. Billionaires build palaces in the sky, and the city pulses with wealth and possibility. Yet beneath the glitter, shadows linger. Environmental strains grow. Rising temperatures, water scarcity, and the delicate balance of desert ecosystems all threaten the city's survival. Migrant workers continue to endure harsh conditions, their stories rarely seen behind the opulent facade. Financial bubbles, global economic shifts, and the risk of overexpansion constantly test Dubai's resilience. The city that conquered the desert is now walking a razor's edge. Every triumph is tempered by tension. Every marvel carries hidden costs. And yet Dubai's rulers continue to dream bigger. More islands, taller towers, faster innovation, as if daring the desert itself to challenge them. The final question lingers in the air, heavy as the desert heat. Will Dubai endure as the jewel of the world, or will it one day become another mirage, swallowed by the sands it defied?